fabulous Sunday. A Sunday where we are celebrating Seaside. We're celebrating the vision that we have been entrusted with. It's truly a joy to do spiritual community with each and every one of you. I hear so often, wow, Christian, it's a privilege to shake your hand. I want you to know what a privilege it is, an honor it is to serve you, to be here for you, to love you, and to do community with all of you. It is fabulous to see some faces I haven't seen in a while, and know that this is a day we do once a year where we come together as a community and say, this is how we see next year unfolding, and count my support in. So every time we see green this week, it is there to remind us of today's message. It is there to remind us of a community. It is there to remind us that we are the creators of our life script. Green is powerful, and powerful things go on at Seaside. You saw the processional come in with the children, with Landon, the young one will lead them, with Grandpa next to him, the choir singing, practitioners praying. But I'll tell you, and the ministers here too, but the one new minister that wasn't able to be here because she has a gig, the new dean of the Holmes Institute. You know who that is? I share with you the newest minister at Seaside is Reverend Dr. Kathy Hurd. So with that sense of celebration, I prayed these words of joy, of excitement, of love. I can feel that presence, that power, that divine unfoldment, for truly there is a collective impress that is being made here today. For that presence of God moves through each and every one of us. We're each that individual vortex, that channel and expression of the divine. And together we have created this wonderful community known as Seaside. And so today is a collective experience of the joy and the love of what we are and what we can be. Excited to have a better understanding of what is possible. We go forth catching this vision. So it is.
Sheets, and I'm so pleased to be here and to be able to lead us. Thank you. Seaside has a very powerful purpose, and it's always good that we reaffirm that. So please stand, if you will, and we'll read it together. Seaside Center for Spiritual Living is a loving, supportive, inclusive family community which inspires all to experience their spiritual unfoldment, healing, and growth through the principles of science of mind. Our spiritual family gratefully celebrates the abundance of life and honors each individual's unity with God. Our joy is to express making a difference in the lives of those we touch. Thank you. Go ahead and be seated. How many people do feel that Seaside makes a difference? If I could raise both hands, I certainly would, but it is my joy and honor to introduce one of our congregants, Betty Hoffman. If you could come up, she has a very special story that only she can tell. So glad you're with us. Please welcome her.
Good morning, Seaside. A year ago in October, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And immediately following my diagnosis, I had 2 surgeries, and in the beginning of the year, 6 sessions of chemotherapy. Reverend Christian was by my side all the time. His powerful prayers sustained me. The support of Seaside and the prayers of my sacred circle are what brought me through the most amazing journey. Medical science and your prayers and the prayers of Christian saved my life, but cancer changed my life. It was the most amazing experience that I would not change for anything. And so I decided I wanted to give back to those women that are less fortunate than I, that didn't have the support and the love and the amazing capacity of my friends for compassion. So I decided to form a team for the Susan G. Komen Walk for the Cure. I named the team Team 55 to honor Junior Seau. I don't know how many of you know that Junior was like a son to me. So I formed the team, and Seaside was an amazing supporter of the team. Callie walked with me on the team. Christian, we had a rally the night before, and Christian got us ready, prayed us in. And I want to share with you that Team 55 raised $42,000. And so, Seaside, I want you to be so proud of the change and the opportunity you're giving to hundreds of women who would not have that support if it wasn't for the generosity of people for you. So I say thank you, God bless, namaste.
Beautiful. That's so perfect. Everybody could do those like that.
Thank you, Betty. You showed a lot of courage in sharing your story with us. And now I would like to invite 3 young ladies up to the stage who are entitled Moriah, and they are going to be singing a fabulous song. Some will remember, some won't. Girls, ladies.
Well, I came upon a child of God who was walking along the road, and I asked him, tell me, where are you going? This he told me. He said, I'm going down to Yazga's farm, gonna join in a rock and roll band. Got to get back to the land, set my We are golden, we are caught the devil's bargain, and we've got to get ourselves back to the garden. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Our future is in good hands with Flower Power, the loved children of the new millennium. We got Olivia, we got Carmen, we got Crystal, just taking us back to the garden. Why don't we all stand and do some singing? A lot of flashbacks going on there.
Is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything.
God
I
is my
need.
source.
God is my source.
God is my source.
God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need.
Joy.
Joy is my source.
Joy is my source.
Joy is my power.
Joy is my power.
Joy gives me
everything I need.
So I give thanks.
So I give thanks
for all my blessings.
For all my blessings.
Joy gives me everything I need.
Love is my power.
Love
Gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings.
Love gives me everything.
All right, God.
God is
My source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. All right, God. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need.
everything.
Wow. Wow, we already mean that, don't we? Woohoo! I'm Reverend Christina Tillison, and it's an honor to serve as part of the ecclesiastical team of Seaside as the ministers. And we also have this amazing team of practitioners here at Seaside. There are over 50 people who have gone through over 4 years of intense studies so that they can be here for you and me and the world. And they pray for you incessantly. If you put a prayer request in the prayer request chest back there, they will pray for you. If you come up and talk to them in the prayer chapel after the service, they will pray for you. They will pray for you individually. We are so, so blessed at Seaside to have this amazing ministry of prayer. And prayer definitely works. If you're a practitioner, would you please stand up?
Let me just love you up.
What a blessing, what a blessing. And one of our practitioners is Vivian Chandler, who the doctor said about a year ago would not walk. No, not yet. No. She has a wonderful short story to tell.
That was a warning, folks. I've been in and out of hospitals, rehab centers for 2 years, and the surgeon that operated on the back said, "You may never walk again." You don't tell that to a science of mind person, particularly to a practitioner. The big difference that Seaside has made to me, however, is your presence here this very moment. When someone would ask me, "What can I do for you?" I would say one word: pray. That's all I needed. That's all I wanted. It works, folks. It really works.
Okay. Vivian was too modest to tell you about what she's been doing to give back to Seaside, though. For the past 10 years, she's been in charge of our Thanksgiving and Christmas Day dinners, where there's a place for people in the community to come. Many people don't have a place to go. We have lots of people who come from the Community Resource Center, and she's been serving in that way, giving back, and she'll be at the table to sign up for volunteers after the service.
Thank you. Well, hello, Seaside. I'm Reverend Tammy Mars. I'm the executive director here at Seaside. And because today's a very special day, it's a day of gratitude. It's a day that we open our hearts and we just give thanks for this incredible spiritual community. We're going to do things a little bit different. We're going to have actually 2 opportunities where the basket will be passed. Oh, just joking. Actually, I'm going to be leading us through our tithes and offerings for today, our financial contribution for today. And then at the end of the talk, Reverend Christian is going to ask you and talk to you about our pledge program, and the baskets will be passed one more time at that time, for which you could put your pledge card in. But for right now, this is about our tithes and offerings, which we're doing before the talk. So I'm just going to invite you to prepare your tithe and offering as I just talk a little bit about this spiritual community that we call Seaside. You know, when we think about that which we are supporting, that which we are contributing to, the spiritual journey, and particularly the journey of Science of Mind, is this journey of awareness, of consciousness. We consciously choose our thoughts. We consciously know that there's a power and a presence for good, and it can heal us, it can make us abundant. It brings us incredible joy and peace and goodness, the goodness of life. And for me, there's nothing more important than for individuals to step into their good. It warms my heart as we talk about the qualities of God. The qualities of God are joy and love and peace. And instead of talking about it, we're literally about living it. And every time we experience that joy, it's the activity of God alive in our lives. When we experience the abundance that's in our life, that is the activity of God in our lives. And I am very proud to be part of this spiritual center because I know thousands of lives come through here every single year. And the support that we give to this community, the support we give to building this community is enhancing, is expanding the qualities of God, of joy and love and peace and abundance and wholeness, as we've heard, and peace of mind and support in an exponential way that I could never do by myself. And that's why giving here and being part of this spiritual community and changing the world and making a difference is so important. And that's what our contributions do. They keep the doors open, allowing individuals to walk in, to remember. And every individual that walks out in joy touches thousands of lives. So this is a very, very important meaning, an important purpose, the Seaside Center for Spiritual Living. And that's what your support, and more importantly, that's what your yes to who you are, what your life is about, and what you are contributing to, and what you would like to see expanded in the world is about. So I thank you for that, for all of us, for all we're able to create, and for all those people we're able to help with healing stories and the joy that's just spread everywhere. You know, Seaside does tithe back 10% of every dollar that comes into Seaside through our services. We tithe back 10%. And this year, our 25th anniversary marks that we've been able to give back $1 million out into the community, out into services that we would like to see expanded, see more of. We're doing a very, very powerful good. Reverend Christian will talk on this later, but one of the ways of which you can give is through our auto tithe program. It is extremely helpful for Seaside because it's consistent and we can count on it. People do it one of two ways. You can do it on a credit card or you can have your bank account debited. When people have their bank account debited, there's no charge. The bank, because we're a nonprofit, gives that to us for free, which is nice. And some people know exactly what they're wanting to contribute, and some people don't know. They have fluctuating income, so they contribute through auto tithe the minimum amount and add to the basket on Sundays. So I just want you to take into consideration of being an auto tither. You know, right now in our community, we have over 100 people that auto tithe, and that's incredible help for us, so thank you for that. The other thing that I wanted to share with you is that through your giving and the lives that we touch, your life is blessed abundantly. So I want to call the ushers forward at this time as we prepare our offering, as we feel it. You know, all money is energy, and all God is energy. And we feel it to the degree we open and allow it. And we can feel when we do our offering and when we give, we can feel the energy of putting $1 next to our heart. We can feel the energy of putting $100 next to our heart. We can feel the energy of checks that we may write that are $250 or $1,000 next to our heart. We feel the energy of that. God is energy. And so as you place your offering next to your heart, I invite you to feel the energy and know that this is the energy you're giving out, and therefore the energy that's coming back and expanding to you. For we are circulators of energy in every single thing that we do. That is life in action. So I invite you to circulate your love in a powerful way. So let us just turn within as we just feel this energy right now. Recognize and feel and sense and know the power and the presence and the love of God is right here. For it is a gift of the heart that has blessed our lives. And it is us as those divine circulators that become the givers of those gifts as we circulate it out into the world, knowing that the source is never exhausted. And so it's with a heart that is open and filled with gratitude that I give thanks for each of you, for your wonderful gifts, and to collectively for the good that we are doing for ourselves, for each other, and for this planet. With great gratitude, I say thank you. And so it is. So join me in our affirmation together as we share this affirmation. Spirit continues to bless my world. Gratefully, I live as the giving expression of Spirit, opening the floodgates of the affluent flow of greater good as my life now. awesome. So let us just take a moment and turn within as we just accept God's blessings that are right before us, saying, thank you, Mother, Father, God, for this good, for this abundance, for this wholeness, for what this goes forth and creates in the world. For I know we are a powerful group of individuals creating infinite good, and I am so grateful, and so it is. Amen. This is Reverend Rick Mars, my cute little husband. Don't trip. Thank you. Now I'd like to invite the choir up as we hear another song from the choir.
This is our Seaside Choir. They're a volunteer choir, as you know. They meet once a week. They, I think I calculated 44 weeks that they put in their time here in the Rose Room, and I'm very, 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 very proud of them today. Would you please welcome them again? Thank you.
I see a paradise.
And that is the Seaside Choir. Oh my, that could become our anthem. under the direction of Reverend Fran, just saying nothing can stop us now. Together we can dream it, and nothing can stop us. I love that. That is so perfect. Thank you. Hey, you know, there's a casting call that's been put out, and only the A-list characters have been invited. And you've been invited. You're part of the A-list. They're looking for those that are willing to have an authentic expression. They're looking for real characters that are out there. And you have been invited to answer this call to create. And I want you to know what comes with this particular call that you've been asked to answer to is also the ability to maybe tweak that script a little bit, to write your script, to write your life story, to be the producer of it, the director of it, to bring in the different characters, to realize that along the way that you are to create not by default, but by destiny. There's a divine destiny for which you have been called. It is your life script, and you have got to be authentic to bring it about into the expression. And so we're waiting for you. You need to say yes to that and realize that your life's not just going to be, like you're a creature of circumstances. Rather, you're the creator of the circumstances. You are the character that is creating the circumstances in your life. And as you create in your world, as you are creating and unfolding this new script that humanity is waiting for, that you are being authentic enough to bring forth from yourself, you're doing the casting call yourself. You're bringing in the different players. You're bringing in the individuals who are playing out the different parts to fulfill that which has been impressed upon the film of your subjective mind, that is projecting it into reality. And as it gets projected, I want you to understand that there could be some miscues. There may be some misfiring, mistakes. You can call them failures if you want, but I want you to realize that those kind of experiences are to be your teachers, not your undertakers. Okay, reel them up. We're moving them out of here. No. It's a detour. It's not a dead end. And so what you want to do is be able to realize, okay, this is my teacher. What is it I need to know here? How can I grow? How can I expand? If this world of mine is a script that is unfolding before me and I'm the producer, how am I creating that? Where do I need to expand my perspective of what's going on? There's this fisherman. He was out fishing, and he noticed the guy right up the riverbank a bit catching fish, like lots of fish. And he would catch a big fish, and he'd throw it back in. And he'd hook another big one, he'd throw it back in. He'd catch a little one, and he'd keep it. And he'd catch another big one, throw it back in. He'd catch another little one, and he would keep it. And after this went on for a few hours, the fisherman finally went over to this other guy and said, I've been watching you. I don't really understand. You're catching the big ones, and you're releasing them, and you're keeping the small ones. He said, well, it's quite simple. At home, I only have a 10-inch frying pan, and nothing else will fit inside of there. Well, sometimes we only have that 10-inch frying pan at home. We have, it was Daddy's frying pan, so I'm using it. And actually, it was Grandma's frying pan who gave to my daddy. That's why I'm using it. And all of a sudden, that of the parents is being passed on to the kids. That legacy is finding it's weaving itself into expression in current day experience. And all of a sudden, there is a heredity thing going on, whether it's passed on by consciousness or whether you think it's genetic. You're believing that this is my character, and you're getting typecast in this role that you've now been playing for decades. Maybe it's time to take on a new role in your life. Maybe it's time to say yes to a greater possibility. And the individuals that are showing up in your life and showing where you have that 10-inch consciousness as opposed to an enormous infinite possibility are not really bad guys. Because every life has got to have the bad guys and the villains, so we can pass the buck, we can blame them, that this is why I'm stumbling, this is the miscue, this is why the life isn't working. But I want to remind you that who cast those villains? You can answer. You did. That's right. You cast the bad guys into those roles, and if you're done with those bad guys or those villains or whatever, you get to change it. You're the producer. You're the one who's putting out the new vibration. You know what, guys? We're changing the story here. We're going to change the story. I'm done with this one. What? Yeah, I'm done with this one. We're moving on. It's a new one. Let's see. What am I going to do? There was this plastic surgeon who shared a story that stuck with me about a young boy who came to him who had his right hand severed at the wrist. And the plastic surgeon asked this kid, how this handicap has impacted him. And that young boy looked at him and said, I don't have a handicap. I just don't have a right hand. And that kid went on to be one of the leading scorers on his high school football team as a running back, because there was no way he was letting go of that football. How are you twisting the story? You get to be the storyteller here of your life and of your world. Are you playing victim to the villains and the bad guys that you have cast into your life? Or are you taking the power back and realize, you know what, it's just a projection of my consciousness? You're sitting in the movie theater and you're watching the big screen. That's why you see these great romantic characters up there. Your heart throbs, the tears roll down, you laugh hysterically, you feel the anxiety of Sandra Bullock going through the universe. And all of a sudden, you're like so engaged. And then you look behind yourself and you remember, oh yeah, I see all these little characters dance around in the light beam. They're only a projection that is coming through the light. What projections are coming from the light that moves through the filter of your consciousness and your mind? We have just spent the last month exploring these prosperity principles to create greater good in our life. And I get to come back and say, how are you creating it in your world? How are you being a place for greater prosperity to show up? How can I be a place for greater peace to be expressed? How can I be a place for a greater expansion of God's kingdom? How can I be a place for a greater expansion of generosity, of compassion, of love, of caring, of kindness? How can I be that expansion of God made manifest on this world? Or do I have to wait for some emergency upon the planet to call me into action? You do not need to act by default. You can be moved by the Spirit of God that is within you, and you do that by looking around and seeing how the love is showing up. See how the generosity is showing up, the compassion. I walk through the convalescent homes or the hospitals, and I just see compassion expressing from all the nurses and the doctors and the individuals that are engaged in being that avenue of God made manifest. I listen to the practitioners, 50 of them, praying, and I see the expression of God made manifest. I listen to the choir sing and feel the expansion of the celestial sounds made real in this world. And I realize and I recognize the more you look for it, the more you be it, and you can be it now. You don't have to wait for that emergency, for that miscue or mishap. I'll tell you, Seaside is being an expression of Spirit right now. And so when there is a call from the Philippines for a global situation, you know what? We are already praying. So it's pretty easy to drop into our prayer chain the prayers for the Philippines. We are already giving. You heard we've given away $1 million in the last 25 years. It is easy to redirect the givingness. You want more compassion, but I'll tell you what's happening are the sacred circles. There's compassion going on in the classes. There's the exploration of how this could happen and what is going on and what's taking place on the planet. And what I recognize is we don't need an emergency to compel us into action, that when you're choosing to be compassionate and generous and understanding and prayerful now, and you're expanding that kingdom now, then it is easy to drop in those requests. And so as we are responding to the requests of the planet of this time, and I watch more prayerful activity, more generosity going on, more compassion going on, I ask, why do we have to wait for an emergency? Why don't we just be that and do that now in our life? It makes it a lot easier, yes, to be that. You're not running around, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? There is something inside of you that is calling you to a greater experience of possibilities that are beyond your common understanding of what is possible. Because as you begin to expand that expression of God and that kingdom of God and move it through the film of your own consciousness, it shows up in your ways by those divine intuitions. One touch of God is going to transform your world, I'll assure you. I just read a story about a young guy who is now 29 years old. But a few years ago, he was helping out his great aunt. She needed to move into senior living facilities and didn't quite have the resources. She had this 50-acre plot of land outside a small town in the middle of nowhere. And this kid, a few years ago, went ahead and gave her $1,000 an acre for it. He gave him $50,000, which was way more than it was worth. But caring for the great aunt, the matriarch of the family, you know those dynamics, how they can play out. So as he brought in the surveyor, they said it was too hard really to build a house on, that there was something called a Grecian stone underneath it. Now, I'm not too familiar with what Grecian stone is, but you talk to a landscape architect and their eyes twinkle. I guess it is one of the better landscaping stones to have out there. And it goes in the quarries for about $100 a ton, which sounds like not very much. But when the geologists told them they have about 24 million tons of this stone out there, and if you do the math times, 100, that's $2 billion of asset that all of a sudden God tapped beyond this person's thought and changed the life instantly. I share that story with you just to expand your consciousness of what is infinitely possible to that which is infinite. That expression of God has ways you know not of, is what the saying goes. But are you expanding your realm of possibility? Are you willing to drop your story, the history, and have it be different than what you thought it was? Yes, well, one of us, two of us, that's good. That's a start, It's important to count your blessings, but it's also important to make your blessings count. How are you making your blessings count? How are you being that space in which that Spirit moves in your life? Are you using this film of consciousness to tell you why you cannot be in the flow? Are you using this creative power to tell yourself why you are unable to contribute or to participate, and what you're doing is just pulling yourself and digging yourself a deeper hole? Or are you choosing to be that avenue that lifts you ever higher, that tide that lifts all around them? The choice is yours. There was this lady, her name's Sarah. She was in a grocery store in Idaho. And she shares about, she was buying, some potatoes, and she was looking at the fresh peas that were there on her way out, and they were beautiful. She said she's cream peas, and her, I guess, they have something. But and they caught her attention, and then she noticed a young guy, very frail, skinny, kind of emaciated, clean, but you could tell there wasn't a huge abundance there. He was looking at the peas, and the grocer, the owner of the store, came over and says, "Hey, Billy, how's it going? Can I help you?" Says, "Yeah, Mr. Miller, good to see you. I'm just looking at these peas. They're good-looking peas." And he said, "Yeah, they're good-looking peas. That's right. How's your mom?" And Billy said, "She's coming along. She's getting better." He said, "Those are some good-looking peas." And the grocer said, "Well, would you like some of those peas?" And he said, "No, I don't have any money." And so the grocer, Mr. Miller, says, "Well, do you have anything you could trade?" He pulls out of his pocket this sparkling marble. And he said, "Well, this is my prize marble." And Mr. Miller picks it up and looks at this blue marble, sparkling. "Yeah, that's a dandy, all right. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm more of a red guy. So I'll tell you what, why don't you, do you have anyone at home that may be red?" He said, "Yeah, kind of." He said, "Okay, why don't you take this home? Let me give you some peas. You take the peas with you. And next time you come back, bring me a different marble." And so the kid goes home, and Sarah's checking out, and Mrs. Miller says, "There's a couple other kids in town he does this to. They'll bring back the red marble, and they'll say he doesn't have a fancy for red marbles anymore. Now it's a green marble, or then it's an orange marble." And this has been going on for years. And Sarah said she just remembered that when she moved to Colorado. And after several years of living in Colorado, where one year just passed faster than the next, she came back to this small town in Idaho to visit some friends and family. And she was with her friends when they said that Mr. Miller, the grocer, had died. And they were going to the viewing that evening. Did she want to come? And she thought, well, that would be nice. And she got in line behind three young guys, one of them in a military uniform, the two others, black suits, white shirt, and tie. And she noticed as they went up to Mrs. Miller, they each stopped one at a time, and they hugged her, and they gave her a kiss on the cheek, whispered something in her ear, and went over to the casket and put their warm hand on the cold hand of Mr. Miller. And as they went through, and Sarah came to her, she said, "I remember," and she tried to let her know who she was. Said, "I remember when you told me the story of three young guys." And Mrs. Miller said, "Those are the three young guys I told you about. And I want to show you something." And she took Sarah's hand over the casket and said, "We weren't the richest people in town. But I'll tell you what, we always gave what it is we had. And I want you to know, as my husband lies here right now, I'll bet he's probably feeling he's the richest guy in town." And as she leaned down, she undid his fingers, and underneath them were three bright, sparkling red marbles. When I hear that story or tell that story, I wish I would want to give like that. That kind of desire to give and to make a difference. And to know that here's a guy who could no longer step out of the arrangement because it's wrong color, wrong size, that I am now going to give it back. That is what it's like to be able to be in that flow and desire to give and to be in that place in which you express the Spirit of God. Because the Spirit of God is moving and is calling you forward. This day is God's day and tomorrow is also God's day, and you're getting a call from that future. That is what vision looks like. That is what the heart and soul stirring looks like, is God's day, tomorrow's day, calling you from there. And that call is a lot louder than yesterday's call. That's saying, hey, look back, look at the old script, look at the old character, the typecasting, look at the 10-inch pan, it just pulls you farther and farther. But I want you to know that God is calling you forward with the vision and the stirring in your soul, and the way in which it comes forth is to have that same kind of desire to give and support that, just as those kids had when they stood before him. What is the vision that is calling you forward? And remember, it is God that gives the power for the vision. It's God that gives the power to make it happen. Moses, wonderful story. He's leading, we know it, many aspects of it, but he's leading the children of Israel out to a vision, to a promised land. They've caught this vision, and on the way to that promised land, they have run into the hardships and the challenges and the famines and the difficulties, just like today we are running into the stock collapse or the real estate market or overextended and leverage or whatever it is. We have those difficulties, but let there be a vision that Joshua saw beyond the giants in there and said, you have what it takes, come on in. And when it was time to enter on into the promised land, what Moses said to them is, I can't go with you. And gave them a list of things to remember, but one of which is, remember, it is the Lord God that gives you the power to experience the wealth. It is God that gave you the vision. And as you begin to prosper, do not forget God gives you the power to experience wealth. And it's your responsibility to bring forth the covenant. It's your responsibility to bring forth the remembrance that there is a life force, there is a first cause, that there is this energetic expression. It is the order of the universe. It's up to you to remember that. And so as the people began to prosper, as the story goes, where they began to own land, as they began to have harvest, and as they began to have more food, less and less did they tithe, and less did the blessings come to them, and eventually the hardships came and dominated eventually by the Philistines, because they forgot to put spirit first. Once they got fat and prosperous, said, you know what, I'm doing this myself. It's okay, God, I got it handled. I've got it taken care of. And so I listen to people say all the time, hey, when I get it, then I'll give. And then they get it and they forget to give, because that is not the consciousness of who they are. First you got to be, then you do, and then you have. It's not the other way around. But people say, well, when I have, then I will do and be. But I'll give you a secret. If you're prayed up in advance, if you're given in advance, miracles can happen. There is this amazing picture that God sent to me, Marv. This kid, 22 years old, racing down the road in Arizona, went over the guardrail over there at 75 miles an hour, flipped end over that culvert, landed with his passenger, 18-year-old, facing the other direction. And they walked away with only minor scratches. Highway, I think it's 100. But I want you to see where it was. It doesn't hurt to be prayed up in advance. It's pretty amazing. Truly amazing what is going on. But you got to have a vision. You want to bring forth your life script, that which your authentic self was charged to be in this world. You got to have a vision. I'll tell you, Seaside does. You've got to be willing to exercise that option to bring it into expression. You've got to be willing to take the risk. I tell you, Seaside, there is a vision that this community changes lives for the better. It's a place where people can feel the presence of God. Any of that work for either one of you? Change lives, can feel the presence of God? Nice. When people drive up onto our campus, one can feel the vibration that's coming forth from this building. There's something on this land. It is holy land. There is something sacred. You walk up and you feel the presence. You may not be able to articulate it, but it's something different than the next house down the street. All of a sudden, you drive up during the week, you hear 50 kids playing on our back property, because there is something that's going on here. If you got a challenge, you go to one of our spiritual practitioners. You get 50 people praying for you. Lives are changing. The presence of God is being felt. We are making a difference in this world in which we walk, whether it is in the Philippines, whether it is down the street, there is an energetic life force that is about community. Doing spirit solo is nice, but you can't do spirit in community by yourself as much as you think you can. It is coming together with people of like minds that have a collective vision that says we're about changing lives for the better, and it's not going about telling God how to do it. Yeah. Hey, God, I think this is how you should do it. Ernest Holmes, he's the founder of this philosophy. He was very clear. He said, don't think you can be advising God. Don't think you can be telling God what to do. It is that which created all things. What you want to be is receptive. What you want to be is influenced. What you want to do is feel that divine vibration and recognize where the Spirit of the Lord is. There's liberty. That's where the freedom is. That's where the abundance is. That is where the health is. Not because I'm telling God to heal this body, but because I am so immersed in spirit, there can be nothing else but health and well-being. And it's not because I'm telling God to make my business happen, but because I am so influenced by that divine vibration of spirit that it prospers that which I'm doing, because I'm bringing forth the vision in which I have been entrusted to do and to bring forth into this life in this world. And I am stretching my realm of possibilities. I'm stretching the 10-inch frying pan. I am letting go of the history and know that I get to rewrite this script because I am an A character in it. I am the producer, director, and writer in this. And God is my co-producer. Likes to be paid up front. And that's the thing. Remember, Spirit First? We had a little one, Landon, lead us in here this morning. A little one. It is Spirit, lead with Spirit. And so one time a year at Seaside, we come together and say, hey, this is our Pledge Sunday. We've been doing this for 20 years around here. Once a year, we say, you know what? We're going to put together a plan for 2014, and we're going to do it based upon what people are coming together at Seaside and saying, this is what my intention is for next year. I'm asking you to stretch. I ask you to take a look at that little step chart that's in there and says, step up another % or 2. I'm giving you a chance in a moment to write out, not yet, but I just want you to realize that you get to write your script. You get to be the activity in which Spirit is. You get to be the experience God is having in your life. You are the director, the producer, the creator. And so all of a sudden we do that through our givingness. And I'd like to talk about tithing. And tithing is a tenth. It is a 1, the power of 1. And is that the ultimate spot to go? I don't think so. I personally think Moses or those guys came up with 10 because it was easy to figure out on your fingers. 9 to God, 9 to me and 1 to God. It was a pretty good deal back then. But there's a power of 1. I think it's easier to calculate than 13.2%. But the purpose here is not to, okay, I made my 10%. The purpose is to live in the flow. It is that consistent, systematic remembrance of God first in my life. And as I am in that flow, and Eric Butterworth, he talks about 10%, the training wheels here, guys. It's like that's just the starting point. You want to be considered an expression of God. You want to be considered, I don't know if you want to, but I like to be considered generous in the expression of who I am in this world. And as you begin to tithe, as you begin to give, as you begin to send that out without looking for anything in return, what happens is you begin to develop a trust in something that is far greater than what this world can throw at you. You're going to develop a trust that is far greater than a physical body sickness can be. It's going to be far greater than what a bank account can say, because my trust is in something that is powerful, is the wellspring of life. And as I begin to trust this more, I snap the addiction to my money thoughts. My mind is no longer filled with how am I going to make ends meet? How am I going to pay this? Will I have enough to retire on? All of a sudden there is a snap because I begin to trust this infinite flow is moving through me, and it comes from the inside out. That consistent givingness opens your heart, and the only way you can open your heart is from the inside. That's where the handle is. And as you give, you receive. That's the way it works. That is the way it has always worked, and that is the way it will continue to work. We're not making this up. And so as you give, it comes back. But it doesn't necessarily come back from where you think it should be coming back. See, that's the key. I give here, and I want the materialistic stuff come back to me from here. We forget that God is omnipresent, is everywhere present. So as I give here, it can come back from anywhere. And for me, one of the classic examples that lives in my heart has to do with all of you. Back in 1998, in spring, I became president of the whole religious science movement. And this community was so generous to the movement that they sent me forth and allowed me to play around this planet, sharing the words from South Africa to Australia to Europe to across all the states for no compensation to me, or to this community. But what was interesting, in the summer of 98 is when Seaside bought this place. What was interesting is I served for 4 years, and we moved into this place in the end of 2001, almost 4 years later. We had no money when we went for this. How is that possible? I'll tell you what, we're sitting on Gershon stone. We're sitting on God. Seaside, as you heard, has continued to be a tithing giving community, and somehow, by the grace of God, and no other way could I explain it, did we move into this place. This is what happens when you're prayed up in advance, when you're remembering Spirit first, when you're continuously being in that flow. You begin to sever the addiction to the fears and the past and the history and the 10-inch frying pans. You begin to be that instrument through which God expresses in this world. You have been cast to be your authentic self. That is why you're on the A list, to rewrite a greater script for humanity. And you have what it takes. And someone once told me, you know how you tell the measure of a wealthy person? If they were to lose all their money, how much would they be worth? How much would you be worth? I'll tell you, savings are good. Retirement plans are important for this lifetime, but only for this world. They're non-transferable. They don't move with you from one locale to the next. Ernest Holmes talks about it, where this is a continuity of life. And this is just like one little frame. And remember those Super 8s? It's like the movement or this is just one frame into the next one. And so you don't get to take your real estate with you to the next place. But what you do get to take with you is your consciousness. What you do get to take with you is your memory. What you do get to hook up with are those that you have blessed and been generous to. What you do get to do is live out that joy expression which you brought to humanity. What you do get to do is experience the reverberation, the unfoldment of the vibrations upon which you have cast upon these eternal waters that transcend this physical dimension and follow you all the days of your life. And that life I'm talking about is more than just this place. I mean, this is just one stop in the place. I just want to remind you. And so you have been called to be an instrument through which Spirit expresses. You have been called to be that place in which you expand the grace and the good and the abundance of the universe. You have been called to make that difference. You have not been called to save this world. You've been called to save yourself from the limited beliefs of this world so you can be an instrument through which the grace and the goodness and the abundance and the possibilities and the good feelings and the joy can express itself. You have been called for a time such as this to express this into humanity, and for the storyteller to be able to change the story. The storyteller has to expand. They have to have the experience of the greater possibilities. And Seaside is here to assist you with the tools and the teachings and the practitioners and the love and the generosity and the abundance and the compassion and the community that you can expand your story. And so what I want to ask you right now is to look within your heart. This is the time that I'm going to ask you to take out of your Sunday program your card of intent for 2014. Seaside sits here because for the last 20 years there have been people like us that have sat on this moment and said, I believe in this vision of 2014, or I believe in the vision that lies before us. It is a call from God that is there, that is far stronger than the call from the past and the history and the limitations and the fears. There's something inside that's saying expand that frying pan. And you can do that by being the activity of God in your life. As you give, it comes back. It's not why you give, it's just how it works. You are the activity of Spirit in your life at the level of your choice. You cannot outgive God. Try it. You might like it. You might like that flow that all of a sudden shows up in your life. You heard me say people have more faith in the pizza man delivering after they put in the call than they do in God. I'm telling you right now, this is your moment to look within your heart and see how Spirit has touched you in this last year and how you intend to be touched in 2014. And before you fill that card out, I want to pray. And I just want you to feel and sense I'm expanding here in my life. I am writing a greater script. The writer is expanding the experience, and I am willing to challenge myself for God to show up. Bring your tithes to the storehouse, and I will open up the windows and pour out blessings until you say that it's enough. Would you like to have so much good where you're finally saying, God, enough's enough here? It's saying challenge you Try this for 6 months. If you don't like it, stop. This is a card of intent. If you can't do that, you let us know. We change things here, you change it there. You can also expand it. But I want you to know what you put down there, we're going to be praying for you. I can assure you we're praying for you because we want more than anybody else for you to hit your goal and your dream in your life so you're able to make it back here. There's people, the practitioners are praying for you. But I'm going to pray right now. So I invite you to open your heart, your soul, your spirit, and feel the sense, the fun, the joy, the love around the financial possibilities. For truly the blessings of God is fun. It is grace. Let us take the seriousness out of the financial realm and think there possibly could be one place where God is not. God is everywhere present. And there's much God in the checkbook as there is in the sanctuary. And so in this moment, I can feel that blessing and that wonder and the divine expression of the Spirit moving with a new revelation, a new level of the storytelling of my individual and personal life, for there truly is an expansion of greater possibilities. And I say yes to that vision that is calling me forward. Saying yes and realizing one touch of God reveals the Grecian stone in which I am sitting. I realize right now that truly I am able to be that avenue through which Spirit moves, and it continues to source and to expand its givingness. So with a sense of joy, I say yes to what my heart is stirring. That desire to support God's work that shows up in my life at Seaside, that shows up in other people's lives, that shows up in support of the Philippines, that shows up in the live casting, it shows up with our children, it shows up in the classes. The gift I am making right now is a significant difference in the direction in which my spiritual community is moving. Who I am makes a difference. Just say that to yourself, touch your heart. Who I am makes a difference. Who I am makes a difference. Who I am makes a difference to Seaside. Touch yourself and say that. Who I am makes a difference to Seaside. Who I am makes a difference to Seaside. I'm grateful to know this. I'm grateful to know that I make a difference to God. For truly I am Spirit expressing, and I no longer advise but become receptive to the good that is moving in me in this moment. And I let go. I trust this. I believe that. I take this vision of that level in which I'm going to expect to receive my good in my life and commit 10% of that forward to Spirit's work at Seaside. Open your eyes. A sense of gratitude, still connected. I invite you to fill out your new level of support for God's work in your life as you listen to a song that will move mountains.
Faith, trust, love, love can move mountains. There ain't a dream I don't have a chance to come true now. It just takes a little faith. Anything that we want to do, we can do now. There ain't nothing in our way, nothing our love couldn't rise above. We can get through the night, we can get to the light, as long as we've got our love to light the way. With a little faith, just a little trust. If you believe in love, love can move mountains. Believe in your heart and feel it in your soul. And love, love can move mountains. Oceans deep and mountains high, they can't stop us because love is on our side. We can reach the heavens and touch the sky. Just believe in you and I. If we've got love that is strong enough, we can do anything, make it through anything. Just do it all up, we'll always find a way. With a little faith, just a little trust.
That is Peggy Lebo.
Gloria.
Carmen, Olivia, and Crystal. Thank you so much. Love can move mountains. Love is what lifts Seaside for sure. And so I just thank you from the fullness of my heart of your generosity in filling out these commitment cards. Our goal is to have 100% participation. Our goal is to have 275 individuals or families engaged and involved. And I want you to know that I see it done that next Sunday. You can come on up. Next Sunday, we absolutely are celebrating the success of this, of reaching our goal of $600,000 in pledges and commitments. That next Sunday, we're celebrating with a wonderful Harvest Festival. We're celebrating 25 years of our togetherness. We're celebrating the success of 2013 and our 25th year and casting 2014 in a wonderful expression. There's going to be 25 different ministries with activities and booths going on. Our children are going to have a 37-foot slide, I understand. There is all sorts of activities. There's a chili cook-off, which I have yet to win, but I'll tell you I'm the one to beat this year because I have a vision of that which is possible. So I want to say thank you for your generosity, and I just share this prayer of gratitude to the trust of the vision that has been entrusted to Seaside. For each of us continues to be a vibrant expression of that divine love and that movement of God, and together as we acquiesce and become receptive and become that channel through which God's good moves, we become that activity that continues to expand itself in relevance to our individual lives, excited to participate in something greater than just the individual, excited to say yes to that divine casting call and realize I made the A-list. And I'm going to say yes to that. I'm going to stand up to that level of expectation. For truly, I know right now that each and every one of us has all that it takes to rewrite and enhance that life script, moving that experience even higher and greater so we can be the storyteller of the greater yet that is to be. So I let go with a sense of trust. I let go with a sense of well-being and gratitude for the prayers that are going on here, that unfold, for the prayer requests after the service. The practitioners that pray after the service, they speak the words of truth, the prayer requests in the prayer chest, that they are answered already. For our beloved George Brewmeister, I know right now that his body responds to the wholeness of what it is, and we see him sitting right here in service next week. For truly the blessings of God expresses in the vibrancy of his being. Our love surrounds our beloved Vanessa Bisson. For truly she is that divine mother bringing forth a new gift, a new daughter to this world, and her pregnancy moves on with a sense of ease and grace and joy and love. And we welcome this new expression of life into this world with joy here at Seaside. Grateful for the good, the happiness, the multi-generational, the interfaith activities, all that takes place on this vortex, knowing that we are part of that, and with that our individual lives are blessed. For we're part of the whole. Grateful, I let go. I trust that it is so, and so it is. Amen.
There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. I did not know the love of God who was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged and trying to make it through just one more day, you gotta let it go, let it all go. And this is what we have to say, come on. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. You know there's no more for
Landon Vissa with the drum solo leads us in and leads us out. Our affirmation is, I take responsibility for my life script. Let's touch our heart and say that. I take responsibility for my life script. Again, I take responsibility for my life script. One more time. I take responsibility for my life script. And our song of grace.
I'm living in love. I'm living in peace. I'm living my life for what I believe. Through joys and through fear, in this world I walk. God's grace shines on me. Well, it shines on us all. We are living in grace. We are living in grace. We are living in grace. We're living in love. We're living in peace. United we stand as one family. We honor all truth as together we walk. God's grace moves through me and it moves to us all. We are living in grace. Amen, amen, hallelujah.